Well, also in the news this afternoon, the Institute of Economic Affairs is calling for the establishment of an independent Parliamentary Budget Office to monitor Ghana's monetary and fiscal systems. This, the institute says, will ensure stricter monetary and fiscal management systems to transform the economy. According to a group of civil society organizations, Director of Research, Dr. John Kwachi, said a Parliamentary Budget Office is necessary in assessing and estimating the cost of government projects and programs.
We are calling for the establishment of an independent Parliamentary Budget Office. That's what is normally called a fiscal council. Okay? Now, in the US, they have a Congressional Budget Office. In the UK, they have Office of Budget Responsibility. And others have fiscal councils. Now, the idea of a Parliamentary Budget Office is that it is manned by independent professionals. They are not appointed by the president. And they work with Parliament, they assist Parliament in carrying out its oversight role over the budget. We want one, set up in Parliament in Ghana. They should be independent professionals appointed by the Public Services Commission, not the president. The president, we had established 2018 Fiscal Policy Advisory Council. It was appointed by him, and they work under him, and they are paid by him. We don't want that. Since they were formed, we haven't even heard about them. They are working in secrecy. We don't want, that's not the kind of fiscal council or Parliamentary Budget Office that we are asking for. These are some of the functions that they will be undertaking, quite a government independent evaluation of government budgets, making forecasts, monitoring implementation of the budget, carrying out independent estimates of the cost of government projects, especially this. You see, we are in this country where, there's always the argument between the ruling party and the opposition that you constructed this interchange at an exorbitant price, or maybe an airport or something, and then you never get the truth. If we had the Parliamentary Budget Office, they will come out with their estimates of the cost of the government projects and give it to Parliament, make it available to Parliament.
Director of Research at the IEA addressing a group of civil society organizations. On Zoom with us with reaction is Dr. Daniel Amate-Anim, who is Executive Director of Think Tank Policy Initiative for Economic Development. Good afternoon to you. So, do we need an independent Parliamentary Budget Office?
Yeah, thank you very much. The idea sounds quite great, but the reality on the ground is that I'm afraid it's not anything that will be feasible in terms of its implementation and then the expected impact envisaged by IEA. Why am I saying so? By the very arrangement of our governance system, it is the executive that has the mandate by considering what should go into the budget and try to estimate same in terms of the cost and then present it on behalf of the president, present it before Parliament for approval. So what I will recommend is that how do we build the capacity of members of Parliament, especially members of the Finance Committee, to have that capacity to be able to analyze and be able to interrogate and ask the right questions in terms of the cost component or what goes into the budget. To me, that is what ought to be done, because I've observed that we have so many institutions and so many setups and laws in this country with over conflicting responsibilities and role, and little is achieved. Instead of focusing on the existing structures, finding a way of strengthening such structures and building the capacity of the people within those sectors to be able to perform very well. So as much as I agree that it's a very sound kind of idea theoretically, in terms of implication, because these are the questions that ought to be asked, whether such an independent body, are they going to have that legal right to be able to say, oh, finance minister, you are not supposed to put A, B, C, D into the budget, or it's just going to be an advisory role? If it is an advisory role, then it's just like any other body, any other functions that these advisory bodies are performing. Because the point is that if we want to give them that power to be able to interrogate it, then we need to deal with the legal framework as well. Because as it stands now, the responsibility to present a budget before the Parliament of Ghana, it is at the reserve of the executive, and that I'm referring to the President of the Republic. What ought to be done, in my respective view, is that we need to ask the right questions, to interrogate, and that oversight responsibility from Parliament is very key, because they have that legal mandate and that legal responsibility to be able to do that. That is one aspect of it, because if we establish this independent body, which I think theoretically is good, the question we should be asking is that how are they going to ensure that whatever recommendation that comes from them is implemented by the executive? That's a very big question mark. Because at the end of the day, it is the executive, and here I'm referring to the Ministry of Finance, that determines what should go into the budget. And in terms of the cost and monitoring, I mean, that data is available. As for the politics of it, the most unfortunate thing in this country is that we focus on the politics without focusing on the issues. For example, it shouldn't be difficult to estimate the cost of an interchange because the data is there. It shouldn't be difficult for us to estimate a project executed by government, okay? But it is because of the politics that most often professionals and analysts like us don't focus on the cost, and we take up the political aspect of it. So, in short, what I'm saying is that theoretically it sounds great, but looking at our very governance structure and the legal setup that we have now, any such a body will just be an advisory body, and to me, it won't serve its purpose, and it will only just add cost to the budget in terms of the administrative mechanisms.
One of the arguments against it is that this could just be a duplication. And I guess here the emphasis is on an independent office, which seems to suggest that currently there's partisan influence. You talk about the politics in all of this. I want to also ask, what else can we do to hold governments more accountable as we work towards an IMF deal? We are hoping that by middle of this month we may secure board approval, so that we don't have to go back to the fund.
Yeah, sure. You see, and that is the reason which I indicated that the work of our honorable members in Parliament is very key, and they ought to understand it. Once they get that understanding, then the way they approach government business will be different. They will not take it from political dimension. So, for instance, if I am part of government,
that's really difficult to do, isn't it?
Difficult to hear me. Hello.
Now, I was just saying that for MPs to carry out their work without partisan influence could be very difficult.
Yes, of course, there are certain issues that the politics, we cannot take it out of the equation. But we are going for a loan facility, a loan agreement with China. Every member of Parliament should be able, it's not just a matter of taking the loan and celebrating that when we were in power, we were able to borrow 3 billion from China. No, the issue is it a good deal? That number one. Number two, the projects that this money will be expended on, whether indeed it will benefit the citizens. To me, these are issues that any MP should be able to peruse without any political colors. But I admit that there are certain issues that you cannot take politics off the line. I recall vividly, I stand to be corrected, the late Hawa Yakubu, may her soul rest in peace. When I was young and following Parliament, there were so many issues by then that his government was in power. That you agree with the minority by then that, look, this particular issue, they should listen to the minority, and we need that caliber of people in Parliament. And that's the only way for us to develop. If we follow the advanced economies, very well tell you we disagree with the position of the party. Okay, it's difficult though, but it is time for us to be able to toe that line if we want to develop this nation, if we want to see this nation at par with its peers on the globe. As much as it's difficult, I agree, but this is where professionalism ought should play the critical role. Okay. And to me, that's the way to go. I agree with you largely that the nature of our politics now, it will be kind of quite a difficult thing to do, but that's the solution, and that's the way to go. So that we shouldn't just be doing, no, yeah, but we must interrogate and peruse the issues critical to the benefit of the country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Amartey, Executive Director of Policy Initiative for Economic Development. Now,